one question. Do you know why we've been instructed to stand in the middle of this dot? Did anyone ask that question? Did any speaker? No? Well, I did. And I'm guessing everyone from your generation will. And it's going to be really difficult for me to stand still because I don't stand still while talking, but I'll try. So in case I wander off, I apologize to the cameraman. I'm going to be talking about how the internet will change news. More importantly, how it will change your relationship with news. That means your relationship with the news provider, your relationship with what you expect from your news provider and the news, and also the relationship of journalists with management. I was here, I don't know if many of you attended Sucheta Dalal's talk on journalism, investigative journalism, and why it's dying, and she spoke about the conflicts of interest with management and reporters. So I'll briefly touch upon that because that is very true. But how the internet can overcome all those things. So, my generation's relationship with news, I'm 41. When I used to watch news as a child, there was only Doordarshan. And there was this deadpan expression that, half an hour, a script that was approved by the authorities, by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and was read by newscasters with a deadpan. They'd say, today 48 people died in a bomb attack, India won the World Cup. No matter what, it was that expression. So that is what I expected of the news. I couldn't expect any better. Or it was a one-way platform where I'd read the news. Again, not heavily censored, but everyone would behave. No one would step out of the red dot. But the internet blows that to smithereens. Now, see the evolution of news. There was that deadpan expression which Doordarshan used to give. Then came satellite news. And many of you may have watched the earlier, when NDTV had started doing a broadcast on Star. So there was Dr. Pranoy Roy. He was a little more, he had a few more expressions. Before that, there was Madhu Trehan, but she was on cassette, on VHS cassette. Then there was, that generation who covered wars and floods for the first time. So there was this, see, here I am. There was this, they were so impressed with themselves, justifiably so, because, no Indian journalist had reported wars live. So there was this, even in crisis situations, there was a minor celebration with oneself. But there was emotion. It wasn't the deadpan that we were used to. And then there was emotion, which you see on Arnab. That is like emotion, okay? Now, if any of you were to view news like I viewed it, you'd say, what the hell is happening? If someone has been killed, we want blood. If we have won, when the stock market hits 25,000, CNBC anchors, burst balloons and there's striations and all sorts of celebrations in their studio. So there's emotion. Your expectation from life is emotion. You post selfies. The internet makes us emote. Now, how is this related to news? For me to explain that connection, I would just quickly like to tell you about what is objectivity. And I'll tell you why I'm telling you this. Any of you who are science students know that there is no such thing as objectivity. Light can be proved to be a wave or a particle depending on what experiment you choose. Are you familiar with the light, with the particle theory of light and the wave theory of light? Are you? Okay, just so you know, even scientists cannot be objective. What outcome they get depends on what experiment is conducted. Therefore, the choice you make kills objectivity. So there is no such thing as objectivity in the world. So whenever anyone uses that word flippantly, be clear, there is no such thing as objective news. What you can expect is fair and transparent news. And with news going online, that will be your expectation because now we want, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say there's a flood, right? I can, let's say Mumbai is flooded. I can cover this in three ways. I can go and say, here is, so much millimeter of water fell, the drains are blocked. It's a story about corruption. I can do a story about a family who drowned, they lost someone, it's a human interest story. I can do a story of bravery where 5 civil engineers fought through the night, fixed some leak. The moment I choose one of those stories, that's the end of the objectivity. I have made my choice of what I want to show you. So as a news consumer today, how emotion and objectivity intersects is that internet will force journalists to make clear what their position is. You see, all of our life experiences determine our perspectives. They determine our personalities. Typically, I'm a Fauji's son. So whenever someone says, the Fauj is a pampered lot, I say, no, they're not. Because I've seen my dad as a Fauji, and I don't think he was pampered. But if you're a bureaucrat's son, and people say bureaucrats have too much power, he'll say, no, they don't. What I'm saying is where you come from will determine your worldview. And that will determine how you present news. And that will determine your newscaster's take on anything. And therefore, transparency in positions will be the expectation of internet. When I used to watch news, I didn't care what Geetanjali Singh, Geetanjali Iyer or Shammi Narang thought. They were just deadpan. I didn't know their politics. I didn't know their point of view. I didn't know their worldview. It didn't matter. It did, but I thought it didn't. But it does matter. A friend of mine, he's a really good stand-up comic. His name is Sanjay Rajora. He once said this really interesting thing. He said, you must choose your politics, or your politics will choose you. What I mean by that is that a lot of us say we don't have a political position. You may not have a party political position, but you have a social political position. You may have a gender political position. You have a view on gender politics. I mean, for example, those kids in the Baroda School of Art, a few years ago, I don't know if you recall, they had paintings of, they had a painting exhibition. It was a school of art, and they were students of art, and they had paintings, and they painted some Hindu gods and goddesses. And, these guys came and tore it down. Now, many of those students could have said, I don't have a political position, or nothing. They didn't find their politics. But when they least expected it, their politics found them. They had to take a position then. So what I'm saying is, rather than be forced to choose your position, it's best if you have one makes it transparent. So therefore, social media, like Twitter, Facebook, today, many of you know the position of X or Y journalists. You know this one is right-leaning, this one is very kind to the Congress, this one is very kind to the BJP. There's nothing wrong with that. It is but normal. Some of us have, preferences. You must be fair. Fairness is an achievable objective. Objectivity is not an achievable objective. So fairness is an expectation and transparency is an expectation. So any of you who read The Economist doesn't have a writer's name. In the old days, that was like the gold standard of journalism. It doesn't matter who wrote it. The Economist name is solid enough that whoever wrote it, it is the same. It is an objective point of view. No, it is not. And this generation, and especially the internet generation, who knows what their favorite journalist, although Arnab is not on Twitter, many are, what Rajdeep Sardesai ate for dinner, what his last song was, where Barkha partied, where, you know this. And you know their positions are being formed by who they meet, who they engage with, what their favorite song is, who their favorite actor is. So that Economist position of we don't have a writer's name, I think, will go. Because you will want to know who wrote that, where did he grow up. That will determine his point of view, and it will. Secondly, how the journalist's relationship with their employer will change, with management. If any of you read the newspaper, though I assume most of you get your content online, there is the side edit. Times now has the Times view. The Hindustan Times has our take on Sunday. That is something else I think is on its way out. What is our take? I mean, if we're a room full of intelligent people, and I assume any organization would want to hire intelligent people, can we all have the same take? Is FDI good or bad? Can we all believe that, yes, it's good? What is our take? Every journalist in that organization is plugged into a motherboard and they all start thinking the same. There can be an our take. Is it good to kill children in the womb because they are girls? Let's think about that. No, I think that debate is done. It's not a good thing. Okay? Is it good to, murder someone because they belong to a different community or a different color. I think that debate is done. I don't think there's our take that, yes, it's a good thing to kill someone if they are, of a different color. So things that have been debated for generations, yes, there can be an our take. We collectively have a conscience, and generations of human beings have argued, debated it, and come to a conclusion. Anything that doesn't fall within that purview, there is no our take. So even today, when a newspaper says our take, I always wonder, is every journalist in that organization of the same view that, SEZs are good, that there should be, demilitarization in the line of control? How can everybody have the same view? Therefore, the days of journalists, of organizations having positions, I believe, will go. The internet will make sure of that. Individuals have positions. Organizations can't on current developments which are still being debated. You cannot have an organizational position on that. So that will change the relationship of a reporter with management. Like Sucheta was saying before me, those of you who attended a talk, that because most media is owned through special purpose vehicles or are special purpose vehicles for politicians and industrialists, they may not want to break certain stories. Now, as a journalist, if you're not taking my story, I put it on a blog, and it has happened. It's not like it hasn't happened. I agree the impact isn't as much as mainstream media is, but it cannot be ignored. In the good old days, let's say I do a huge expose, and my employer says I will not carry this because I have business interests. What am I going to do? Stand outside Churchgate and give leaflets? How many people are you going to get to? 5 people will come, beat you up, and you'll be in. But right now, you can vanish, and you just put up a blog, and before you know it, it'll be picked up. It'll be picked up like that. And for those who are still cynical that this is too much of a pretty pink picture, it won't happen, it has happened. It's happened in Egypt. It's happened in Iran. Countries where you can be picked up for, speaking out like that. All these revolutions, they were tweeted live. Video of that girl, Neda, who was shot, went out on YouTube. It shook the world. So the days of organizational positions, the days of perceived objectivity, and lastly, the days of conventional revenue models are gone. The world over already, many organizations are seeing crowd-funded or subscriber revenues overtake advertiser revenues. Because, when the public pays, the public is served. When corporations pay, a corporation is served. I mean, if my bread and butter comes from advertisers, and if I'm doing news that is scaring all advertisers away, why will I do news that scares them away? So that relationship, I mean, it's not like everyone was doing it with an intent to fool people, but there was no other way. There was only newspaper, there was a printing press, and there were satellites that broadcast stuff. Today, there's the internet. So that has to change, and it will change. So I'm going to sum up now the 3 things that I believe are going to change as far as relationships are concerned. The relationship between the news consumer and the news organizations, the relationship between the reporter and the news consumer, and the relationship between the reporter and the organization. And that's changed forever. That's all. Thank you.